Welcome to another day of Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. I'm Atmadarshan or Laura, and I'm so happy to see you because when I first tried to sign on, YouTube sent the message that live streaming wasn't available. But I do get to see you, and as you can see, that tree is still there. It's probably going to be there for a while. So today I'm dedicating the practice to my neighbors who are wonderful parents of their pets, especially, and to all those in the storm's path. There's this huge storm, as many of you may know, that's about to hit Florida, in the southeastern part of the United States. So I'm thinking about all those folks. I have a cousin that lives down there. I basically have cousins everywhere. Stay safe, all my cousins. All right. We're still talking about children. And I can tell this is a subject near and dear to people's hearts, and it's causing heartache. And of course, we're going to talk about why as the trash man rolls through. Thank you, Mr. Trash. Our trash collector is a man, I know that. Thank you, Mr. Trash Collector, and all trash collectors. We need trash collectors for our emotional lives, don't we? Wouldn't that be great? Just put this stuff out there and it's taken away. So I'm going to go on with a really powerful question that I received. If Arjuna had kids, which we've talked about, he did have kids, then would the unbalanced ego compete for the attention of a Krishna figure in the home? And another thing that said is, I find most mothers on the short end of the Arjun stick when we use the metric of equality for men and women. I'll let everybody decide what they think of that. I personally agree, at least in my family of origin. And it may be different in yours. But I appreciate the willingness of this writer to look at both ends of the spectrum. And I'm going to just add one more thing here. Once children come in, because Arjun's a warrior, Arjun has a really, really big problem of his aggression and warrior like battle. The battle spills over to the marriage and then the family born. I can't argue with any of that. But let's see what the Gita says, because I have my opinions, you have your opinions, and that's great because we've all got our life experiences. But when we look for spiritual guidance, what does our tradition say, or what do the teachers in the books say? And I'm going to refer heavily to chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. I've got a Bhagavad Gita class starting up tonight, and it's a third in the series of conflict, diffusing conflict. The Gita seems to be about war, but actually it's about diffusing conflict, defusing, or diffusing, I suppose, also. And it's got 18 ways that you can work on defusing conflict. But one of the most important aspects is in chapter 9, to which I'll refer heavily today. And in verse 1 of that chapter, Krishna says, "Now I shall tell you, since you do not try to find fault, most secret knowledge and its experience, by which you shall escape evil." Okay. And evil doesn't necessarily mean what we think in the West, like good and evil. It's just things that are harmful to you and those you love, like hurt the soul. All right. But first of all, I want you to note that I shall tell you if you're not trying to find fault. Arguments about parenting in any form can be huge between two people who are trying to parent, whether that's trying to write a book together, having pets together, having children together. And in any argument, think about this. If you've been in an argument with somebody and they've already come to that argument with the idea that what they know is right, and they're not really listening to you, they're trying to convince you of their side, how fruitful is that going to be? Even a discussion where you're not so emotionally charged, but one person comes in and their mind's already made up. And this is one of the biggest blocks to resolving conflict amongst everybody, is when we come in with our idea that it's right and we're not even going to listen. And it's hard because we may strongly feel or have in our experience that we are right. But if we're not willing to entertain the fact that there could be more than one right way to look at a situation, we're not going to get anywhere. So that's first off. If you've got your ideas of what's right and you're trying to listen to anything for guidance, it's not going to work. So the part about would the unbalanced ego compete for the attention of a Krishna figure in the home? That is a fascinating idea. The idea perhaps that one parent is more spiritual and one's more material, and which is the child going for? And the answer is, well, having been a child myself, I find comfort in this verse in chapter 9, verse 17. And I'll chant this one because I know some of you like it. The cosmic father, mother, and grandsire and provider am I. That's Krishna. So what Krishna is saying here is he's both father and mother. And however he appears in either parent is divine. And sometimes we say, the spiritual is better than the material. In my experience, to raise a child in the material world, you need both. You need material provider, you need a spiritual guide, so that you understand that you are both. And I'll get a little personal today, and I hope this is okay. The idea of conflict spilling over. All right. It's said that before Arjun's child Abhimanyu was born, and Abhimanyu is also related to Krishna because Abhimanyu's mother is a relative of Krishna. And it's said that he was beloved by both Arjun and his brothers, who can represent the elemental forces of nature like lightning and wind, and Krishna, the divine. And there wasn't any real, that I found in my studies, difference. It was that the child felt loved by both and loved them all. Children can have really huge loving hearts. They're designed that way. It's actually good for survival to love and be loved by as many people as possible. So keeping that in mind. It's said that when Arjun's child Abhimanyu was in the womb, Arjun would talk about fighting, and he talked about a particular battle formation that only he knew the secret of how to get into and how to get out of. And that Abhimanyu in the womb heard that. So Arjun talked about how he would get into and break that formation, but then he was interrupted before he could talk about how he would get out. And then when the Mahabharata war comes that Arjun and Krishna are on the brink of now in the Gita, Arjun is away doing some other fighting, and this unbreakable formation comes at Arjun's brothers. And Abhimanyu goes, wait a minute, this is the formation my father was talking about in the womb. I know how to get into it. And he said to his uncles, but I don't know how to get out. And they said, don't worry, if you get in, we will follow and we'll break you out. Guess what happens? Abhimanyu gets in. His uncles can't follow. They don't know how to get in. And it actually, there's a whole nother story behind that we don't have time to get into, but Abhimanyu dies in that formation. He can't get out. Something this story represents to us is our parents, both, and all our ancestors can be really good at getting into certain fights, but maybe don't know how to get out. One of the best things we can give our children is an example or telling, we've been in arguments and this is how we get out. Or I've had troubles in my life and this is how I've escaped, because it is so common for patterns to repeat in families. The idea is the karma, the action, the pattern is looking for resolution, and it keeps getting passed down until someone in the family can resolve it. And also, I'd like to make the point of the father talking while the baby's in the womb. Babies can hear in the womb. That's been proven. If one parent is harsh toward another, the baby is going to hear that and carry that. So, for example, this is just an example. It could go either way. The father yells at the mother. The baby is going to get used to, my father has a harsh voice. My mother maybe talks to me in a loving way. And they're already going to be imprinted with this idea of parents by the time they come out of the womb. Or if the father is absent and there's no voice, or the mother is sad and is crying a lot or saying certain things, the baby picks up on that. And this carries over into the life of the child. If we don't recognize that both parents are equally part of the child, okay, two parents become one in a child, or two authors become one in a book, or however you want to think about it. Two pet parents become one with their pet. If one parent disparages the other, then the child, who knows that they are a combination of both parents, feels it. So if one parent says something bad about the other, then the child goes, but wait, that bad parent is part of me, is half of me, not intellectually. So my parent that hates this other parent must also hate me too. This is why working on our relationships is so important. And I can tell you from experience, my mother and father got divorced, my biological father and my mother. And my mother was careful not to say many bad things about him to me, even though I was there when the fights happened. Oh boy, was I there. And, but the way she treated me, I could tell that there was something, she felt there was something wrong with my father. And what I internalized, and I still deal with to this day, is she felt like there was something inherently wrong with me because something was wrong with my father. And I know she didn't mean to do it. But I plead with you as parents to think about that. And if it's hard for you to think about the impact your actions might be having on your child, today I'm going to invite you to contemplate the impact your parents' actions, way of talking and speaking, how that affected you. Something we might not want to notice because we want to think, many of us, I've resolved my parents' issues, I'm never going to pass them on. But unless we really work on them, we are going to. It's just going to continue. That idea of the battle, whatever battle we're fighting, is coming into the family born. Sorry to take up so much time, but I hope it was useful. These things do take time. Let's prepare for our time of contemplation with a balanced posture. It's wet. Remember, part of this is balancing both the parts that we got from our parents in us: equal love, equal respect. Switch sides. All right. Let's do this contemplation. And thank you again for this question. I know there's a follow up, and we'll get to that tomorrow. 5 minutes contemplating the impact that your parents' behavior, words, etc., has had on your life. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being part of this. I always feel like the time flies. We have a series of classes starting tonight that works on resolving conflict. And if you want to join, you can live or by video, and the link is below. And we've got another follow-up question to talk about tomorrow, but something to contemplate. Our relationship with our parents, our relationship with our children, whether physical, cosmic, divine, literal, figurative, very formative, very important. May you all feel loved completely for who you are. And until next time.